Welcome everyone. I'm going to talk about today how we use jobs to be done to create value with a customer-centric mindset in our company, and some pretty short introduction. So I'm co-founder of the designmethodsfinder.com. I work at TeamViewer since 6 years now. I wrote a book, and if you want to know more, please reach out to wolframnagel.com. So the general and the core idea, I guess, for many or for all of us, is we want to create value for our users and for our customers. And if we don't do this completely wrong, we also will create value for the company. In order to achieve this, we developed in the past years a customer-centric value. That's a customer-centric value creation framework. That's how we call it. I'm going to introduce this briefly at the end of the talk. Now I will introduce you to how we apply this, why we do this, the mindset behind, and some tools. So yeah, I guess many of you can agree that you normally and nearly no company out there has not enough information. It's rather always too much. So we know we get a lot of customer feedback. We have a new product ideas, many feature requests, for example. We know how people use the product from usage tracking. We have other insights. We know about pain points, problems. We have a lot of ideas, and basically the backlog grows faster than you can work on the item. So always it's a lot of information. The main challenge generally is how do we prioritize? So is this feedback now representative? Is it objective? Is it relevant now? Is this important, or is this just one customer? What should we put on the roadmap? What should be done first? What next? And in general, how do we prioritize? That's the main challenge to organize all these information we get. I have some examples and stories to explain the mindset behind our approach. So the first one is from Sarah Conklin, who's a product manager, product designer. Her daughter came to her and he told her, "Mom, I want a pair of flippers for my birthday, but I'm actually not into flippers," which is weird. So what Sarah did, like, let's call it research. She talked to her daughter to find out why, and she found out that her daughter wants to feel like a mermaid. So she's basically using these flippers to play mermaid, but maybe these flippers would be even better for Sarah's daughter. So what I want to say with that example is it's about the job. So flippers aren't obviously always used to improve at swimming. Some people obviously also use flippers to feel like a mermaid. And if Sarah knows now what the job of her daughter is, she's able to provide the best possible gift for her daughter's birthday. And that's also the message for you and for us, basically in the company. We need to know our customers' job, what do they want to get done. There's a phrase that says people hire a product to get a job done. And in that sense, this little girl hires the flippers to feel like a mermaid. Maybe her mother could also buy a mermaid costume and would also serve the job. And to serve our customers in the best possible way, we need to talk to them. We need to understand them, like Sarah did with her daughter. Another example is from the listen to music area. So it doesn't matter when you lived or when you listen to music like 50 or 40 years ago or now. It doesn't matter if you use cassettes or listen to CDs, MP3 players, iPod, or streaming services. The importance, if you like music, does not change. The technology can change, but the job, listen to music, is stable over time. And when you are working in that business, let's say your main job in that case is listen to music, you will do qualitative research and you might find out a lot of needs that your users and customers have, like listen to favorite music when on the go, when running, when having a shower. That's a huge difference. And or maybe they want to share their favorite songs with others, and the list grows and grows. There's a lot of needs, can be more than 100 needs. And then you have the same challenge as I mentioned at the beginning. How do we prioritize? So shall we go for the listen when running feature, or should we improve the playlist feature? I have no idea, because all sound reasonable. What you can do, you can ask your customers 2 questions related to the same need, which is how important is it for you that you can listen to your favorite music when you're on the go? And how satisfied are you right now regarding this? And then they can answer. They have 5 options, from not important at all or not satisfied at all to this is extremely important or I'm extremely satisfied. There's a pretty easy formula behind, taken from outcome-driven innovation from ODI and Strategin. And when you apply this, you get something like this, which is a map. All these little dots represent one of the needs I just showed you before. And this shall and can help you to prioritize. So you have 2 axes, importance and satisfaction. And all these needs are phrased in a solution agnostic way. So there's no app behind or button or any feature. It's just listen to favorite music when I'm on the go. The one, the items on the bottom right are pretty interesting because they are underserved. So these needs are very important for the customers, but the satisfaction is currently rather low. So if you get these needs addressed better than the market or the competition, users might choose your product over others. So this can help you to prioritize. Maybe let's go for these needs first compared to all the other needs that also sound reasonable. The dots and the needs in the top left are also interesting, maybe if you want to reduce maintenance costs. So I don't want to go too deep here today. So it depends always on what you want to find out, but this can help you to prioritize what should be done next, creating the roadmap and so on. Last example is, imagine you're standing in front of a river with a bunch of people. So you can just tell your group, guys, we need to build a bridge. So everyone will start building a bridge. Okay, fine. But that's actually not the real goal, like with the mermaid before. So actually you want to cross the river. And if you tell the group, guys, we need to cross the river, what can we do? So everyone can think about what could be a solution. Of course, you can build a bridge, but you can build a raft, or you can swim across the river, or maybe there's a narrower point somewhere along the river. This is also a solution to cross the river. What I want to say with that example, again, is it's about understanding the job and not talking about a potential solution too early, because often we are like approached just as a metaphor. We often use this metaphor in discussions. Please build a bridge for me. You have like this amount of time. And then I'm always asked like why, to understand the circumstances. And to make the switch to software development, imagine you want the next release is in 2 weeks, and you want to improve the product for your customers and users. Maybe this bridge takes 2 or 3 months to build, so that's too long. You will not ship an improvement with the next release. But if the whole team knows not just about the bridge to build, but about we need to cross the river, so we want to allow our customers to cross the river with our product with the next release, and maybe there's a developer in your team understood the user, the use case, and the job to be done and all the needs. Maybe they can come up with like, with my framework, it's pretty easy to create a raft. It takes only 1 week, and we have even 1 week left to test. So let's try this out. You can ship this feature that addresses the need cross the river with the next release in 2 weeks. And then you can check if the need is addressed good enough, or if you need to improve, or maybe you still need to build the bridge. So this is just just an example. Just to quote Jeff Gotthelf, you guys might know him, author of Lean UX and some other very interesting articles and books out there, who says, give teams a problem to solve, not a solution to implement. So this is as with the bridge example. So people in your team need to know why you are doing what, which problem you are solving, and then you can have these discussions around your users, what could be potential solutions, instead of just talking about a solution from the beginning. And this has a lot to do with collaboration. This is very important. So because UX and experience and product stuff is not only related to the UX guys, the whole team is involved. And we do this by using that canvas. So we created the customer-centric value creation canvas. We didn't create this because there are not yet enough canvases out there, but this canvas directly relates to our framework, to the mindset, to the approach we teach internally. So we use this one to clarify the most important questions before we start a project. Can also be used during a project, but it's recommended to do upfront. So there's a trigger. So to answer the question, why are we working on this topic? Where is it coming from? Where's the do we maybe sales job or whatever? So everyone knows about it. Then you need to define and clarify goals, KPIs. What's the goal of the whole project? Maybe some requirements. Maybe there's another project running in parallel, which you should align with, or there are some limitations with technology, so also needs to be considered. And of course, define the main job. So is it listen to music? Is it feel like a mermaid? Is it remotely connect to another device? And who are your users? That can also often be many, but it helps to prioritize, at least at the beginning, to be able to focus on this or that user. Helps also in discussions and in prioritization also. And then the scope, so what is out of scope and so on. When this is clarified, we can move on and we can take care about users and their needs. We normally do a workshop internally and encourage everyone to think from the user perspective. So what need can you imagine when a user wants to cross the river or remotely connects to a device or whatever job you are working on? And of course, we also do research with users to find out their needs. But this, in this kickoff workshop, we encourage everyone to think from a user's perspective, and it helps to generate this user-centric mindset to use this also later in discussions. And once this is done, we summarize the research insights and we phrase them normally as job stories, which is not the same as a user story. Don't want to go too deep here. And only then we think about what can be a potential solution, only when you clarify this important questions up front. And it helps a lot to discuss in the team, to align. How do you think about that? So when these questions are there, this helps to align, and this is how such a canvas can look like when everyone is invited to put their sticky notes on these specific areas. So we also defined some UX principles for us. The first and most important one is put the user at the center, because everything we do it for our users. So anything else doesn't make sense. If there's no problem or a user out there who has a problem that needs that feature, why should we invest time to build the feature? So this is very important also to have that user-centric discussions in the teams when we are working on topics. And also very important, we want to make data-informed decisions to avoid opinion discussions with that, which doesn't very often not really help. We're not blindly following data, but we utilize it. So like usage data, how people use the product, and also any customer feedback, any user insight, interview, whatever we do is data we use to have data-informed discussions and decisions. And in order to achieve this, we created our user focus program, which is basically a user research database, where a lot of users are there. We can select users depending on what we are looking for, easily recruit users and do interviews with them, or also surveys. And actually easily reach out and quickly reach out to them to find the right ones to help us to develop the product. This is how it looks like for an editor or for me as an admin, the user focus program. And users can apply for it to join the program, and they provide us a lot of information like what are your IT skills, product familiarity, what is your roles, how often do you use the product, and many other. This is one part, so it's basically divided into two parts, the user part and the survey part, and this is how we can find users related to the target user group I'm looking for a specific topic. To really have reliable users in these discussions. These are the personas I'm working with, my team and my colleagues are working with in the area I'm working on. TeamViewer is a TeamViewer core product. We have an IT admin, an IT supporter, we have a home office worker, which has been everyone in the past 3 years, basically, from time to time, right? And also private users. They are defined in a specific way based on research insights and any insights we gather. They are based on that data we gathered. And then there's also definition how is the IT skill of SAM, and product loyalty, product familiarity can sometimes be very interesting. Which devices do they use when they use the product? How often do you use the product? Do they have a license? How much time do they spend? So general behavior and usage modes. And the bottom right, you see like jobs to be done, needs and goals, potential frustrations and pain points are also defined. So that's defined for SAM. And All this information, as I mentioned before, is also provided by our customers who apply for the user focus program. This means we can reach out to them and find, depending on how many filters we apply, we can find the right people, let's say real living personas. And for example, depending on the filters we use, we have like 300 or 400 SEMs in the user focus program. We can reach out to them and talk to them directly. The other section is the survey section. We have several templates to create surveys, but I want to mainly introduce the jobs to be done survey section. Quickly, I don't want to go too detailed into what jobs to be done is. This is a job map for the job support a user with a computer issue or troubleshoot an end user issue, for example, or remotely connect to another device. And this is a job map which is divided into several stages. They have always a beginning, a middle, and an end. So, for example, you get the trigger is you get a ticket because the customer has a problem. Then the job like starts, and then you prepare for the call. You're in the call, try to solve the issue. You monitor if you actually solved it, and when you solve the issue, then the job is done. Like you troubleshooted this end user issue with your customer. All these little post-its you see here are needs we uncovered in research. So, for example, they are all phrased with the same syntax. For example, minimize the time it takes to organize my contacts or devices when I need to find them later. And all these other post-its are phrased in a similar way. They are just structured in a job map that helps us to structure and cluster all the insights we get, because this is normally a mess when you have all the insights, and then we structure it first onto a job map. What we do next, we pick the most relevant ones, so sometimes need to pre-select and put them into a survey, which could look like this. This is how users see the survey. So they want to minimize the time it takes to start a remote control session when I want to troubleshoot a computer problem, for example, and many other needs as well. And then maybe you imagine the example with the listen to music, what I showed you before. They can rate by importance and satisfaction. And what we get then is, as I also showed before, the data for, so we get evaluated needs. You see the score here, which is calculated by that formula I mentioned before, by importance and satisfaction. The list is longer, but this one helps us now. On the needs on top got the highest score, so very important and rather low satisfaction. And this helps us to prioritize, to discuss with product owner, product managers, other stakeholders. Maybe we should focus on these 5, 6 needs on top first because they are most relevant. On the left, you see that also a filter is applied. So you see only the ratings for the ones who have rather a high IT skill and who are IT admins. So we can also remove it or use other filters. And then you also can display it like with this map, similar to the one I showed you before. And this tells us now the underserved needs. Maybe you should consider the A2TFQ need, which is just the like to indicate them. Maybe we should focus on these ones first and not RMX, because they're obviously not that important for the customers, even if they sounded reasonable at the beginning or after we did the research. So this helps us basically. That's how we quantify qualitative research insights, structure them, get data that helps us to argue later, to prioritize, and to present potential solutions to others also internally, and to have more confidence that we are working on the right topic because we have the data and we got a need from a customer in a qualitative interview, and 150 or 200 other customers rated it that way. So this gives us more confidence to be on the right path. Probably, hopefully, you agree with me that we all need to understand the problem first before we work on the solution. I'm not sure if this guy really said this. I just borrowed that quote from another presentation, but I just agree with it. So you really need to understand your problem first before you work on a solution. That's probably not new for you guys, because however, so because when I don't know the problem, how should the solution look like? When I don't know the user and what they want to get done, I cannot start with any mockup, right? So, and therefore we created the framework I mentioned at the beginning. based on some other frameworks out there. We also follow the double diamond and some other frameworks, which is based double diamond. You probably know it. So it's mainly divided into problem and solution space. So we have a lot of problems. You need to converge, like define which problems you're going to work on. Then you find many potential solutions, and you need to decide on which solutions you will like develop in the end. As said, some other frameworks have been considered, and based on that, we created that customer-centric value creation framework. This is the high-level definition or illustration of the framework, and I'm going to quickly introduce you to the framework. Don't worry, it sounds or it looks more complicated than it actually is. At the beginning, so there are like three or five stages. There's the initiation phase, then we have understand, explore, materialize, and then you basically release or deliver the solution. Before we start, as I mentioned with the canvas before, we need to clarify what are project goals, requirements, what's the main job, what's the user. So we just need to know this, otherwise we cannot really work. And then there's this first diamond. So actually we have three diamonds here. The first diamond is the understanding diamond. So we really do research, understand the customer, as I showed you before, find out a lot of needs, quantify them, prioritize the needs. This can also be done pragmatically. If we don't have a lot of time, we very often also do it pragmatically internally. As long as we know that it's a pragmatic approach, it's fine. And once we decided on the needs we are going to solve or address, we go into the exploration phase, like ideation, brainstorming, a workshop. Maybe create a mock-up. We check feasibility with the development and test again with users. And once we feel confident that this is a good solution, so we decide on a solution, then we can hand it over into the materializing phase, which can then be developed in, so we apply a Scrum, Agile, like build, measure, learn in iterations, and then you ship in, so you develop it in sprints and you ship it every 2 or 4 weeks, we ship a new improvement. So all these circles are independent of each other, but also overlap. So I can and I should do research all the time, just constantly checking with customers if there's new insights, if priorities of needs eventually maybe changed. So, and when there's new insights and a new priority, we can inform the exploration phase, and we can always work on the solutions. What can be a solution? What are the ideas? And also, once we decided on an idea, then okay, that's the idea, we want to develop it, we put it to the backlog, create the user stories, and then we develop it. So they are independent, the circles, but they inform basically the other circle. When there's a new insight, like new need or a new solution that shall be developed, it can go to the next phase. That's basically research and development, or research and design and development in a nutshell. Again, as a summary, so first we work with the canvas, then we do research and interviews, and then we prioritize the needs, and we use the job map, of course. Then we do again go into ideation and prototyping, put it to the backlog once we decided, and then we can like create the product in sprints, and also think about marketing and promotion. If this is interesting to you, or if this is was too fast now because of the time, please feel free to reach out to my and check my article on Medium. I explained the whole approach there, and I'm also happy if you have questions, feel free to approach me. So what I wanted to show you today is that jobs to be done can be a great foundation to create value for customers, because it brings that customer-centered perspective, and also allows you to create data around that. In a nutshell, so how can you do this, or how we do it? So involve the customer, at least the perspective. So think from the customer's perspective, gather insights from them, quantify and prioritize their needs, and then find solutions that meet those needs, and okay, then develop it and ship it to the customer. So that's, again, in a nutshell. Or we can also phrase it with the quote from Tony Ulvik, who is he's an author of the Jobs to be Done book and many other great insights, and he's one of the early guys in that area. So innovation begins with identifying customer needs, and it ends in the creation of items they will buy. So in theory, pretty easy. What are your users or your customers? What needs and problems do they have? find a solution, create a solution, and offer it to them, and that's it. So it sounds pretty easy in theory. In practice, that's the challenge. And I just showed you today how we approach this challenge with our customer-centric mindset and framework. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Wolfram. That was a really good, detailed insight into kind of the steps of how you go through it. So thanks for sharing that.
You're welcome.
We have a question that came in from Alexander Sedelmeier, and he was asking, could you give a more detailed example of a customer need? It doesn't have to be a TeamViewer one, but just one that can kind of help make it a bit more tangible.
So a customer need, others use outcome statements, we call it need statements, is the underlying needs to a job. So if you are listening to music, so if I'm working in a company that provides music stuff and just listen to music is the main job, you do research and you find out a lot of needs. For example, minimize the time it takes to start my favorite music when I go running. That's a need. And that's always phrased in the same. We always use the same syntax. That's a need, and there are like 50 to 200 needs around the job, and that's actually what we are doing research with customers to find out the needs. When we talk to them, we ask, "Oh, did I get you right?" We like get a confirmation for the need. Then, okay, thanks, that's a need, and then we like quantify it with the research to be able to prioritize all the needs we uncovered. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, I think it did for me. So it's a problem statement, kind of, is how.
Yeah. That's a very, very important thing. I don't care too much about how you phrase it, how you call it. You can even call a job a use case, even if it's wrong in my opinion. But if someone can work with a use case better than a job to be done, you do not need to introduce a new term. So yeah, problem statement also fine for me. I'm pretty pragmatic. Yeah.
And I found the book Jobs to be Done, if you really want to go detailed into how to kind of track and ask questions, I found that very useful. So if anybody out there would like that. I have some other questions, particularly about your user research program, like having all those people sign up. I'm jealous because it's such a huge resource. So we don't actually have time for it now, but I'm going to throw some questions into the Slack channel, and I'll invite you there to answer them. But particularly about how do you encourage that number of people to volunteer and to give their time to helping you would be, I think it'd be useful for other people if they could try to replicate something similar.
Yeah, sure. I will. I'm happy to answer these questions. Sure. Thanks.
Well, that brings us to time. So thank you very much, Wolfram.
Thanks a lot also.